Hey guys, Hikari here, and today we're finally back with Black Clover, and it's been 3 months. We finally waited for it, and it's finally back. And before it coming back, we got a author's comment from Tabata himself, basically saying that, even though Black Clover's been absent for 3 months, he's really happy to announce that it's back, and that he's going to give us the best final arc that he possibly can. So we should definitely look forward to the continued support of the series and future chapters. And I think this is very awesome that Tabata really is happy that it's back, and he's also happy that we've actually waited the entire 3 months for the series to come back. So it's more of Tabata being very, very wholesome, which he always has been, but it's just very amazing that he's very glad that we waited. And we also get a new color page for the series, to commemorate it coming back into serialization. And we see that it's the future versions, or this year's versions of and Asta, and we see that they've grown a bit, they look a bit different, and their outfits are designed slightly differently now, so that's very cool. The chapter this week actually starts off with Lucifero though, and we see that he's in the 7th layer of the underworld, and he's kind of mutilated right now. He's on the floor being stopped by time magic from Lucius, and he can't move, and he's basically telling that, you fool, I'm the king of the devils, and that although I lost half of my body, I'm still the most powerful person in the world right now. I have the most powerful magic. One thing I noticed though, before we go on with the chapter, is that we see that he's being stopped by time magic. So I'm assuming he probably sort of lost to Lucius right here. And we notice that Lucius is using his time magic, and we see that it's the coverless grimoire that he's using when he's using the time magic. But we see last chapter that when he was using the shapeshifting magic, he was actually using the double spade one. So it kind of shows that whenever he doesn't really have one grimoire, it seems like he has two, because this one has no cover. There's no cover on it whatsoever. So it seems that whenever he's using time magic, he has to use the coverless one, and whenever he's using, his transformation magic, or I'm assuming his innate magic as Lucius, he has to use the covered grimoire with the double spade. So I think it's cool that we actually get to differentiate that he uses two different grimoires depending on which magic he's using. Kind of the same way that Yuno actually has two different grimoires too. So, but this is obviously a different set of events that led to him having two grimoires. Lucius then actually tells him that in this world, the ones that are superior at using magic are actually us humans. And I'm assuming he actually took Lucius's, or he took Lucifero's heart, and I think he ate it because it says munch. So I'm assuming this means that he's going to gain the powers of Lucius's gravity magic, or Lucifero's gravity magic, as I kind of theorized in my other video, my Lucius video going over his powers and plans. I did mention that he was most likely going to take the heart for himself, and he actually did. Cutting back into the chapter though, we see a spread shot of the entire Clover Kingdom. We see the Demon Skull, and we see basically the entire kingdom from our point of view, and we cut back to 1 year and 3 months after the battle in the Spade Kingdom. So it's been over a year since that fight, and it seems that we're going to have a special award ceremony, and this is actually for Asta. And they tell us that he's going to become a senior magic knight now, first class, and everybody's very happy for him. We see Asta, smiling, obviously giving off that perfect smile that he always does. And we see Forgolion talking about how, Damnatio's disappearance kind of slowed the entire process down, but, he's just happy that he's been acknowledged by the captains, Asta is, and even though it took a while for all of this to happen, he's just glad that he's very close to achieving his dream right now. He's only a couple steps away. We also get confirmation that Yuno is actually a Grand Magic Knight, and that Asta kind of deserved to get the same thing as Yuno, but I guess due to different circumstances, and most likely because his trial was still technically going on, he wasn't able to kind of get to the same heights as Yuno at that time, but obviously Asta's going to get there. And that's actually another thing. Asta has been acquitted of all of his crimes for, using devils, which we saw in the last panel. So obviously I'm just assuming that this is kind of what slowed him down from becoming the same thing as Yuno, but he's going to get there, like I was saying. We then see at the bottom of this panel that somebody asked just where did the Wizard King go, and they're saying that he does have a habit of sneaking out while transformed. So I'm wondering, do they still not know about Lucius kind of being Julius right now? And if that's the case, Julius or Lucius has kind of been living under their watch for a good year and 3 months, and nobody's kind of noticed that he's pulling the strings still. So I'm pretty sure that's why we know what happens at the end of the chapter is probably going to be a huge revelation in the next chapter. But before we get into all of that, we see one of the characters, a little girl, saying that, she heard that Fuegoleon, Captain Nozel, and Marion Leone are all nominees to become the next Wizard King. And Nozel's saying that, it's been on hold since all of us that declined, and Fuegoleon saying that he feels that he's inadequate, so he doesn't want to take on the role. We also get confirmation that the Spade Kingdom and the Heart Kingdom have almost fully recovered from everything that happened, and that, right now there's still a lot of demonic activity, and that's actually what some of the Black Bull members and Golden Dawn are kind of doing right now. They're going around probably, slaying demons and making sure that they are put down. We then get a panel of, just a little bit of banter. Yami saying that, he thinks that he's happy that everybody showed up to commemorate Asta, and then we see that Charlotte's actually kind of running away from Yami, and he's still confused as to why Charlotte is always running away from him. And we see Finral just fully come out and say it that, what are you saying? She's doing that because she likes you. And that, he was kind of confused, thinking like, he thought something was already going on between them. So he kind of just full on just tells Yami like, yeah, this is why she's doing it. It's because she likes you. And Yami's still confused. He's still saying, what's the meaning of this? She's in love with me? How? And we see that he's sitting on the toilet, and he's just sitting here thinking about all the different things like, oh, does she like me? Has this been like the whole time? Has her key kind of been showing it, but I just didn't know? And he's on the toilet doing all this, and Finral saying, can you get out of here? Can you get out now? At the bottom of this panel, though, we see that Asta's declaring that today he's going to do something, and we cut over to Noelle and Mimosa, and they're both just realizing or thinking about how they really do want Asta to kind of say something to them, and that they, ever since the Spade Kingdom, or ever since a while now, they've actually been really eyeing him and really wanting him to kind of ask them out maybe, or if they had enough courage to do it themselves, and they're wondering to themselves, is there anything that they can do about this? And we see that Sakurai actually whispers in their ears telling them something, and it's most likely that she told them they're going, or Asta's going to confess, but she didn't tell them who he's going to confess to, so they're just wondering like, is it going to be me? Is it going to be me? Like, who's he going to confess to? And we see a really cool panel of Sakurai saying how amusing, and it's just her straight face. She never really shows a lot of emotions, but it's just really funny. But then we cut over to the final portion of the chapter where we see Asta actually declaring his love to Sister Lily just one more time, and he's asking her to marry him. He's saying that he's turned 18, which is very crazy that Asta's actually 18 now. He's full on 18 years old, and he's asking Sister Lily just one more time that, can you marry me, and that he's going to make her very happy. But obviously Sister Lily can't say yes to him, since he just really is more of a brother. She's watched Asta grow up for most of his life, so it's just different for her, and she's never going to really be able to reciprocate the same feelings back to Asta. And she says this to him. She says that, I'm sorry, but you're like family to me, and that she can only really see him as a little brother, but this just means that she can't marry him. And we see that this really is the final time, because Asta says that, I understand that until now I didn't want to give up, but he can't really change how people feel. And this is the end. Asta's most likely never going to ask her again. He's finally just kind of put it away. And I'm assuming he only really did this as just kind of like a little throwaway, just to see. But obviously he has to kind of close that tie. He most likely knew that she wasn't going to say yes, but he just has to, one more time hear it straight from her mouth. And he's, given up on it. He's realized that he can't change her, and that he's going to still go ahead with his plans. And he tells her this. He says that, this vow of mine has remained unchanged, and that he's going to become the Wizard King. And we see that Sister Lily kind of finally says that he can do it. And I guess up until now, she's never really full on said that, yeah, you can do it, Asta. So, she even realized this too. And she says that, I know you can do it. And this is where we get into the final portion of the chapter, the very insane moment. And after this, we see that somebody's walking towards Asta and Sister Lily, and it's actually Lucius himself. And he's saying that, congratulations on making it this far, but this is the end. And this is where the chapter finishes this week. And can we just talk about how insane that walkout was? How he just came out there and full on kind of just stole the show. And I also think another thing is very important. If you look on his forehead, we see that instead of having all of the different pinwheels on that little circular marking that he has on his forehead, he only really has half of that left, which I don't know what that means. but I think it's going to be very important in the story going forward, since Tabata purposely drew it with only some of the little pinwheel thingies compared to how it was a full pinwheel before. So I think that's going to be something very important going on into the story, but for right now, we just don't know what that is and what the implications are. And we also don't know what Lucius kind of wants right now. He's just saying that, it's kind of over right now, time's up. The same thing that he said last chapter. So I don't know what this means, but we're definitely going to be getting confirmation in the next chapter, Black Clover. And honestly, I just want to say that this was an amazing chapter. It's been such a long wait. I really have been wanting Black Clover back, and we finally got it. So I think that's very important for everybody. And I really enjoyed this chapter. I think it was a great chapter. And I honestly can't wait for next week to finally get confirmation as to what Lucius is going to tell everybody. And I just want to know what you guys also thought of the chapter. Did you guys enjoy it? And what do you guys think is going to happen next week in Black Clover? I'm assuming this is like the point where he's kind of going to mention that, yeah, like I was kind of pulling the strings along the whole time, guys. I'm actually the Wizard King. And, he's going to kind of just full on lay everything out per Asta probably and lead into the final fight of the series. And I'm thinking it's kind of going to flow that way. But how do you guys think it's going to go? Definitely let me know in the comments, and like the video if you liked it though, and subscribe also, as it really does help me out. And I'm going to be making a lot of Black Clover videos on the channel moving forward, since this is going to be the final arc, and this is something that's very important to me. I really do love Black Clover, and I've been following it for so many years now. So this final arc really is important, and I think it is for a lot of other people. But definitely let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments, and I'm out. Peace.